Hello there, thrill seekers. I got a hostess ho-ho from my father-in-law. I'm not sure why. He just came out and handed me a hostess ho-ho, so I thought I would share that with you. Well, not literally share the hostess ho-ho with you, but share the fact that he came and handed me a hostess ho-ho. I haven't had one of these in years. So anyway, I got a question, and as you know, from before your sun burned hot in space and before your race was born, I have awaited a question. And the question was about the present moment. And the questioner said, we hear this stuff about the present moment all the time, and does this have any sort of connection to Zen? Is this just some new agey thing that they made up, or is there a connection to Zen? Because they kind of say it's a Zen thing, right? So, I spent like way more time than I should have, probably, looking that up in Dogen's writings. Specifically Dogen. I mean, I know there's Zen outside of Dogen, but I come from the Dogen stream, and that's what I've studied most of, to try to see what he has to say about the present moment and what sort of the version of Buddhism that I've studied has to say about the present moment. So I found a few things that are sort of interesting, and I'd like to share them with you. In the introduction to Shobo Genzo that Nishijima Roshi, my teacher, wrote, he says, Dogen recognized that in action, the only time that really exists is the moment of the present, and the only place that really exists is this place. So the present moment and this place, the here and now, are very important concepts in Dogen's philosophy of action. The philosophy of action is not unique to Dogen. This idea was also the center of Gautama Buddha's thought. All the Buddhist patriarchs, and people like to say ancestors these days, but Nishijima Roshi was from an older generation who says patriarchs. All the Buddhist patriarchs of ancient India and China relied upon this theory and realized Buddhism itself. They also recognized the oneness of reality, the importance of the present moment, and the importance of this place. So that's pretty, that's pretty much on the target of present moment. Here is one of the only places in Dogen's writings where I could find a really clear, where he really says the present moment in the sense that we're kind of used to hearing from, the New Age people and so forth. And it's from Fukan Zazengi, and it goes like this. Although there are myriad distinctions and thousands of differences, we should just practice Zazen and pursue the truth. Why should we abandon our own seat on the floor to come and go without purpose through the dusty borders of foreign lands? If we misplace one step, we pass over the moment of the present. What is more, the body is like a dewdrop on a blade of grass. Life passes like a flash of lightning. Suddenly it's gone. In an instant it is lost. And in Nishijima Roshi's footnote, he doesn't footnote exactly that word, the moment of the present, but he footnotes the word that he translates as pivotal essence, which he says is a translation of yoki. The words ki-o and yoki feature prominently in chapter 27, Zazenshin. Ki means mechanism or sometimes the state of the moment of the present. Yo means the main point, the important point, or pivot. So the important pivot point of the moment of the present is what he's talking about there. In another footnote, Nishijima Roshi says, this is a footnote to the chapter Shoakumakusa, which I translated paraphrased as Don't Be a Jerk in my book Don't Be a Jerk, so that's the chapter we're talking about. One of his footnotes in Don't Be a Jerk, or Shoakumakusa, says, even though we can consider rightness abstractly, right itself can only be realized by action in the moment of the present. Another place where this comes up is in Nishijima Roshi's intro to the chapter Uji, which means being time. So this is Nishijima Roshi's words and not Dogen's, but here's what he says. U means existence, and Ji means time. So Uji means existent time or existence time. In this chapter, Master Dogen teaches us the meaning of time in Buddhism. As Master Dogen explains in other chapters, Buddhism is realism. Therefore, the view of time in Buddhism is always very realistic. Specifically, time is always related with existence, and existence is always related with momentary time. So in reality, the past and the future are not existent time. The present moment is the only existent time, the point at which existence and time come together. Also, time is always related with action here and now. Action can only be realized in time, and time can only be realized in action. Thus, the view of time in Buddhism reminds us of existentialism in modern philosophy. And so forth and so on. There's more to it. And some of the quotes from Uji are kind of interesting when he talks about time and the present moment. Here's a few. This is Dogen now, or at least Dogen in translation by Nishijima and Cross. Each individual and each object in this whole universe should be glimpsed as individual moments of time. Object does not hinder object in the same way that moments of time do not hinder moments of time. Because real existence is only this exact moment, all moments of existence time are the whole of time, and all existent things and all existent phenomena are time. The whole of existence, the whole universe, exists in individual moments of time. Let us pause to reflect whether or not any of the whole of existence or any of the whole universe has leaked away from the present moment of time. And here's another interesting Dogen quote. This is from Mujo Seppo, which means the insentient preach the Dharma, or in Nishijima and Cross's translation, the unemotional preach the Dharma. In the words of the ancient, the whole universe in 10 directions is one eye, and furthermore there are thousands of eyes on the tips of the fingers, there are thousands of eyes of right Dharma, there are thousands of eyes in the ears, there are thousands of eyes on the tip of the tongue, there are thousands of eyes on the tip of the mind, there are thousands of eyes of the thoroughly realized mind, there are thousands of eyes of the thoroughly realized body, there are thousands of eyes on top of a stick, there are thousands of eyes in the moment before the body, that's the part I was trying to get to. There are thousands of eyes in the moment before the mind, the other part I wanted to call your attention to. There are thousands of eyes of death in death. There are thousands of eyes of liveliness in liveliness. There are thousands of eyes of the self. There are thousands of eyes of the external world. There are thousands of eyes in the concrete place of eyes. There are thousands of eyes of learning in practice. There are thousands of eyes aligned vertically, and there are thousands of eyes aligned horizontally. That is a great quote, and I should do a whole video of that, but I really wanted to call your attention to this idea of the moment before the body, and he uses this quite often. And Nishijima Roshi's footnote says that's, quote, Shinsen Shingo. That's Shinsen is before the body, Shingo is after the body, because this is another phrase he uses. Suggests intuitive reflection immediately preceding and following an action. At the same time, it suggests endless continuation of Buddhist effort in eternity. That idea of endless effort into eternity is what I wanted to call your attention to. And finally, for the book learning part of this, there's a word nen, which comes up a lot in Buddhism, a Japanese word, and it is the word that is usually translated as mindfulness. The word is composed of two parts. So the character nen is, the top of it is ima, which means now, and the bottom of it is kokoro, or shin, which means mind. So now mind. So you put the idea of now and the idea of mind together, and you get nen, which is often translated as mindfulness. So it's the mind of now, the now mind. So that's the word mindfulness is supposedly pointing you to the mind of the present. However, it gets even juicier. I said I was going to not give you the book learning part, but I have a little bit more book learning for you before I let you go. In a chapter called Shin Fukatoku, Mind Cannot Be Grasped, here's what Dogen says in part. He says, the Diamond Sutra says, past mind cannot be grasped, present mind cannot be grasped, and future mind cannot be grasped. And then a few pages later he says, if someone says, what is past mind, we should say to that person, it cannot be grasped. If someone says, what is present mind, we should say to that person, it cannot be grasped. If someone says, what is future mind, we should say to that person, it cannot be grasped. The point here is not to say that there is mind which we provisionally call ungraspable. We are just saying for the present, it cannot be grasped. We do not say that it is impossible to grasp mind. We only say it cannot be grasped. We do not say that it is possible to grasp mind. We only say it cannot be grasped. Further, if someone says, "What is the state of past mind cannot be grasped?" we should say, "Living and dying, coming and going." If someone says, "What is the state of present mind cannot be grasped?" we should say, "Living and dying, coming and going." If someone should say, "What is the state of future mind cannot be grasped?" can you guess what he's going to say? We should say, "Living and dying, coming and going." In sum, there is Buddha mind as fences, walls, tiles, and pebbles, and all the Buddhas of the 3 times experience this as it cannot be grasped. And fences, walls, tiles, and pebbles is his way of saying ordinary things, the things you can see right here in the world, right in front of you. So things just as they are. Nothing mystical or far away or whatever. So this whole idea of the present moment is annoying. Whenever I hear people talk about, be present, I can tell you one aspect or one time this happened that was real annoying to me, and it was when I was first starting out trying to kind of go public with my Buddhist stuff, and I was writing a web page. I was going to say blog, but I don't think the word blog was in use then, or I didn't hear the word blog. I was just putting a web page out that I would change every week, which I guess is what a blog is. But anyway, I said something, I don't know what I said in there, but somebody responded in the comments comparing me to some other meditation teacher, some guy who I know is just a kind of big windbag and doesn't really have anything to say. And he was saying, Brad is noisy and loud and blah, 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 whatever they were saying negative about me. But, guy in question, who I'm not going to name, is so profound, so present, and present within big all capital letters. So, there's that idea of being present. Well, as Dogen says in this chapter that I just read you, yes, there is a present moment, and yes, it is important. We got that established right at the beginning of the video. But we also understand that past mind cannot be grasped, present mind cannot be grasped, and future mind cannot be grasped. The present moment cannot be grasped because the present moment is too short for you to even be able to say anything about it. Once you start to say anything about the present moment that present moment you're trying to say something about is already the past. So you can only talk about the past. Right now, I am only talking about the past because I'm only capable of talking about the past. Or I could talk about the future, but I can't talk about the present moment. So for a Buddhist, I think what a lot of people, ordinary people, think of when they think of the present moment, they're thinking about the time sort of right around now. The present moment for the ordinary person is probably, I don't know, I really can't guess, maybe 5 or 10 minutes long, or maybe 30 seconds long, or maybe even 1 second long. But even if you say it's 1 second long, you've already missed it, because it's too quick. The Buddhists have a concept, kshanta, which I've mentioned before, and a kshanta is the supposed, in Buddhism, the supposed shortest length of time. And the reason I keep snapping my fingers is because their way of describing what a kshanta is that there are 64 kshantas in that finger snap, in that sound right there. There's 64 kshantas have already happened, and I'm not even sure the name or the number 64 was picked for any reason other than to impress upon the person who's listening to it how short the time that they're talking about is. Probably a modern physicist would say there's 64,000 kshantas in the snap of a finger if we were going to try to find a time that's the absolute shortest length of time. I've heard there's a concept called Planck time these days, which is supposedly the shortest division of time, and it's calculated. It's somehow in respect to how molecules or subatomic particles, not even molecules, work and how they move, and the time, when you can say that is so short that it's too short for a subatomic particle to move, something like that. I don't know, maybe a physicist can explain it in the comments, but I think I'm getting it more or less right. That's the shortest moment. Probably for a Buddhist, they would say that's not even the shortest moment. They would go, Kashanta is way shorter than that. But we're talking about something really immediate. And so being present, or being in the present moment, or being mindful in the concept of Nen, like I was just talking about, is something quite a bit more difficult, or maybe even mystical. I hate to use that word because my teacher Nishijima Roshi didn't like it, but quite a bit more mystical than the present moment that we're normally talking about, which is just to sort of like, yeah, be here, don't be on your phone, and Buddhism does value, the idea of being here and don't be on your phone, pay attention to what's going on, like to Ziggy barking. I should be paying attention to, I think he's barking at my father-in-law again. Yep, he is barking at my father-in-law again. That's what he's always barking at. But so that idea of being present for what's going on, paying attention to what's going on, it is definitely an important thing in Buddhism, as the quotes that I gave you from Nishijima Roshi will indicate. But also there's this much more mystical and interesting side to what the present moment means when we're talking about in Buddhist terms. And it's a video like this is too short to go into the depths of it, but I think I gave you just a little taste of it, so you can kind of get an idea where the Buddhists are going when they say the present moment, as opposed to where regular folks who wear Birkenstocks and shop at New Age bookstores are talking about. So there you go. That's the present moment for the present moment. That's what I'm talking about. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope that wasn't too confusing. If you want to send money to me so I can be more confusing, you can go to the URL you're seeing on the screen below, which is hardcorezen.info/donate. That is hardcorezen.info/donate. There you will find links to my PayPal and Patreon accounts. Those are my main way of making a living, and I really appreciate your support. But as always, this is offered for free, so you don't gotta pay if you don't want to pay. We will see you next time. Have a good time all the time. Bye. Hey, Ziggy. Ziggy, did the scary man go away? Did he go away? Are you gonna try to catch that bee? There's bees flying around and you keep trying to catch them. I hope you don't catch a bee because it might sting you in the mouth. Okay, we'll see you later, Ziggy. Bye.